Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gills, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, Sergeant. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee?
I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Well, good morning, everybody. How are you? I'm panicked. Let me make sure I'm not trying to sink the Death Star plans. All right. In case that's impacting the stream, welcome to my home. Welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. I'm Heath. I'll be your host. Today is the first day of NaNoWriMo. It is also All Saints Day. Welcome. Happy All Saints Day. Happy start of NaNoWriMo. I'm panicked because I didn't get to sleep after the Cultist live stream last night, which was fantastic. I enjoyed it absolutely so much. So we had a fantastic Halloween on the live stream last night. Oh, which, by the way, I need to turn this live stream private, not this live stream, but the live stream over here on the Cultist channel. I wanted to give people an opportunity to find it because we were promoting the new dedicated channel, which I have new ideas for, but I want to turn it private over here so that the permanent home of the live streams will be on the other one. Turn Cultists live stream private on Heath's Geekverse. I'll do that after the stream. But had such a great time with everybody last night. I am so I'm so happy about that. But now I'm panicked because I got NaNoWriMo today. I got to work with Brianna for 4 hours this afternoon. We'll be working on the YouTube channels, including the Cultist YouTube channel, and getting it back up in order and launched. And I got to complete the Indiegogo campaign for Goodnight Sword, and then also step up the Trial of St. Gabriel. So let's see what we got here. So it's like all these projects are all of a sudden like right now, and there's no time to do it. So this is going to have to be a highly productive next 12 hours. So we'll see what we can do here. And hopefully tomorrow when we report in, we can't not report in on NaNoWriMo. So NaNoWriMo will be reporting in the mornings. I wrote just a little bit before I started here. I'm still working on the outline. I talked to Brianna yesterday about the outline for the Tales of Rabavania script, and that's what I was supposed to be working on. And I've made so much progress on it, largely thanks to the Write Club series of books written by Adron Smitley that is we've been going over and be talking about on writing well. This is another one of his books. We've been looking at like the first few pages, first chapter or something like that of these books. I mean, some of them are shorter, maybe 2 chapters or whatever. We've been looking at the first start of these books. They've been so useful to me and to a lot of people here. I've immediately put this to work, working on the outline. I was talking to Brianna about that yesterday, but I haven't got it all ready to start attacking the story. Why is it so difficult? I was asking Brianna yesterday to write this Tales of Rabavania hero's journey story. Why is this taking for freaking ever? Why has this been beating me up for like close to 2 years now or something? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I haven't actually been writing this story for 2 years, but trying to get a viable Rabavania fiction story out has just been tearing me apart. So it's time. But I got to get the outline right, because once the outline's right, then it'll become the script and then it'll become the book. Good morning, Phaser Risk. Good morning. Did I actually say hi to PH? Good morning, PH. Good morning. Oh, Sable's going up for the conspiracy theory this morning. Conspiracy theory time. I propose that Amazon makes it a pain in the ass to find your digital content in order to try to force you to purchase their proprietary DRM devices. Got a digital book or music you want to use in your browser? Good luck. You get to hunt through the 3 menus and a sea of icons to figure out where that is. Good morning, BGD. Good morning, humans. Oh, BGD is crushing it. All right. So who is already crushing it? BGD started early this morning on 1,667 words today. Hey, here is to you. Let's take a sip right here. Here is to BGD for the start of NaNoWriMo. So what I'm going to do for NaNoWriMo today, I'm being a NaNoWriMo rebel. So what I started with is I don't want to just jump in and start writing Rabavania until my outline's complete. I don't want to count my outline toward NaNoWriMo, but I will count actual pages of script. So I'm going to start while I have to work on the outline too. I'm going to start using converting the Trial of St. Gabriel to a movie script, because I want to have both anyway. So I want to have that done. So I'm going to start with that because that's ready to go while I bring up Tales of Rabavania from behind. So we will see. So PH says I got no candy yesterday, but gained some weight anyway. Yeah, I think I've started gaining weight again since my car came back. So now I got to get that back under control. Good morning, Stray. Good morning. Good morning, Robert. Good morning. All right. So let's see. Share screen. Let's see. So I do want to point out, if you weren't with us last night, come over to the Cultist YouTube channel. The Cultist is my show, the Cultist dedicated channel. And I'm trying to build here. I got some new ideas. It would be really great to be able to do season 3 of the Cultists. And basically the last opportunity I believe there will ever be to do this would be this spring. So I got to come up with some way. It may not be possible. But if you're enjoying the Cultists, which is my mockumentary about a group of modern day cultists who just want to worship Cthulhu in a world full of people who don't understand, Brianna and I are working hard to completely re-release the entire show. Why does that say upcoming? Maybe I didn't refresh my page here. Okay, so then under live is where the watch party was from last night. on this channel. So we're going to relaunch everything on this channel. We've been updating all the graphics and stuff. We started this last week. We're going to relaunch the cultists and see. I came up with a new idea actually this morning that could potentially do something for the cultists in order to generate revenue, which will allow us to be able to fund the third season. So I'm still thinking. But if you're a fan of the cultists, please do come over here and subscribe to that channel. This is where all the videos will be, so you'll be able to watch. And also, if you're subscribed over there, then people will know that, hey, this is something cool. Maybe we can get more eyeballs on the show, which would be fantastic. Phaser wrist. Yes. I have not been able to respond to email. Yes, I'm sorry. Because I was going to sit down and write, because I know you sent me some emails, and I was going to sit down and respond to everything, but I haven't gotten to do it yet. So yes, I have. So that's fantastic. See people around here that hey Heath, not to butt ahead the conversation, but just curious if you got my email. This is Adron, by the way. I'm taking your advice on trying out some webcam novel consultations. He may write some more in here. I know there are people around here who said that he should be doing more novel conversations or story consultations in general, and would probably love to talk to him. So I was talk to him. So there may be people around here as well. Yes. So I'll write you back. Hopefully today, all of a sudden today seems to have a lot of projects that landed on it. But yes, I'm sorry. I will write you back. Sable says, I'm not officially doing NaNoWriMo as far as the actual writing goes. I need to make sure all the background events leading up to the story and its outline are all in place first, since it's urban fantasy and there are mystery elements to it, which I'm finding out requires very explicit sequence of whodunit events. Oh, yeah, I have never even tried to write a mystery story yet. Let's see. So, yes. So that was the cultists, the Table Talk channel. Yes, Stray just posted the Table Talk channel. So Table Talk is up over there. We're going to get more clips this afternoon. It's another thing we're supposed to be doing, more clips this afternoon. So that clips will be coming out. And tomorrow night, man, it seems like the Monday, Tuesday, or really Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of my week are huge crunches. Because Thursday, tomorrow night, I'm going to be talking with Brian Colin again. He's a friend of mine. He's the creator of the Vast Grim RPG. This was the first conversation that we had that I reposted over here on Thursday night. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, we'll be talking again because he's on Kickstarter for a game called The Molt, an RPG game right here. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow night. So please come on in. If you have not gotten, if you want a good night sword, there are hours left on the Indiegogo. So once the Indiegogo closes out, I'm going to close that out. I'm going to order the books. If you, and then you'll be able to get it by Christmas. I want to do that. And that was going to close out the Indiegogo campaign. Good Night Sword on Indiegogo. This is my take on Good Night Moon. Good Night Sword on Indiegogo. And then we will get everybody. So if you've got children who are the right age for Good Night Moon, and you need a Christmas gift, and you'd much rather them have a medieval fantasy take on it, well, this is the first one that's published in my world of Ravivania. I wrote it. Adam M. Botsford illustrated it, and it can be on your shelf in time for Christmas. So that's there. And then right after that, in about maybe 10 days, I'm going to start promotion of this. The Trial of St. Gabriel. This is my short story. This is adult fiction. The Dark Story of the Bethlehem Christmas Massacre will be coming to Kickstarter. So if you will, hit the notify me on launch. It doesn't obligate you. It would be great to see that people, or great for people to see that, hey, people are interested, if you are interested. So Trial of St. Gabriel. Okay. So that's what's going on. Yes, those are our announcements. That's what's going on. Phaser Risk says, I love your AI trailer. Thank you. I worked hard on it, and I think it's only going to get even better. Use it for a lot more. coming up. I think it's going to enable us to get a lot more stories out on YouTube in a form that people will enjoy and watch. Okay, let's go to our reading this morning from The War of Art. See, that's we might need to do the. I got to open up my book reader again for some reason. Apple Books just is not like being open for more than a day when we're doing this. But I think the Cultists needs a music video to its song, and maybe it can be done with AI. Sable has a criticism. I'd offer one criticism for future trailers. Try not to make every shot alternate between dolly in and dolly out. It feels like a seesaw. That's actually one of the things that I was learning more about in the days since I have made that trailer. No, well, I can do more than that now. So it's I didn't understand how to do camera controls in some of the software I was using. I did know how to do that in Runway, but I didn't understand camera controls in Pika. And I want to be able to do more than just this anyway, not just pan in and out and still shots. I mean, that's great, but also like how to have objects move across screen, how to do pans left and right. So yeah, that's something that will increase with our ability to have greater camera controls, which is something that's kind of coming out here. Phaser Risk says, Heath, you might want to check out Pinocchio. It's a free program that helps you with a bunch of your A stuff. It looks out. Oh, wait, I heard about that. I have not gotten to check that out yet, but I am because it does look like it is I think my understanding is that it's a program that's going to make getting some of the programs that are out there on GitHub more like commonly available. So yes, I just saw something about that, and it's on my list of things to check out. Yes, thank you. BGD says, props to you mystery writers. Plotting a mystery story is definitely challenging for those participating in NaNoWriMo because it's by nature so highly structured and regimented in story design. My outline wasn't even started last night. And if I had some hasty notes and ideas, but I conquered resistance and just started writing this morning, knowing I'll be revising down the road. Conquering resistance, yes. I saw Pinocchio yesterday. I'm finally getting automatic 1111. So yeah, Pinocchio should help you install that. I've got that on my computer, but it wasn't at the time. This was a long time ago that I installed it. It wasn't exactly easy, but I think that's what Pinocchio is supposed to be helping out. Okay, let's go over here to breathe and sip. Got drink here. I got a drink here. This is to we already toasted to BGD, but anybody who has gotten their words done already today, man, especially this breathe and sip is for you. I'm gonna be barreling through today like a cannonball. We'll see if I can get it all done. All right, 2 deep breaths, deep inhale, complete exhales, and then take a sip. So here we go. I needed that. Got something else I need to get ready. Okay. So iBooks right here. Invoking the Muse. The quote from Zephanon that appears in this section the quote from Zephanon that opens this section comes from a pamphlet called The Cavalry Commander, in which the celebrated warrior and historian proffers instruction to those young gentlemen who aspire to be officers of the Athenian Equestrian Corps. He declares that the commander's first duty, before he mucks out a stable or seeks funding from the Defense Review Board, is to sacrifice to the gods and invoke their aid. I do the same thing. The last thing I do before I sit down to work is say a prayer to the muse. I say it out loud in absolute earnest. Only then do I get down to business. In my late 20s, I rented out a little house in Northern California. I had gone there to finish a novel or kill myself trying. By that time, I had blown up a marriage to a girl I loved with all my heart, screwed up 2 careers, blah, blah, etc., all because, though I had no understanding of this at the time, I could not handle resistance. I had one novel 9/10 of the way through and another 99 hundredths before I threw them in the trash. I couldn't finish them. I didn't have the guts. In yielding thusly to resistance, I fell prey to every vice, evil, distraction, you name it, mentioned here too, all leading nowhere, and finally washed up in this sleepy California town with my Chevy van, my cat Mo, and my antique Smith Corona. A guy named Paul Rink lived down the street. Looking him up, he's in Henry Miller's Big Sur and the Oranges of Hieronymus Bosch. Paul was a writer. He lived in his camper, Moby Dick. I started each day over coffee with Paul. He turned me on to all kinds of authors I had never heard of, lectured me on self-discipline, dedication, and the evils of the marketplace. But best of all, he shared with me his prayer, the invocation of the muse from Homer's Odyssey, the T.H. Lawrence translation. Paul typed it out for me on his even more ancient than mine manual Remington. I still have it. It's yellow and parched as dust. The merest puff would blow it to powder. In my little house, I had no TV. I never read a newspaper or went to a movie. I just worked. One afternoon, I was banging away in the little bedroom I had converted into an office when I heard my neighbor's radio playing outside. Something in a loud voice was declaiming, "To preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States." I came out. What was going on? Didn't you hear? Nixon's out. They got a new guy in there. I had missed Watergate completely. I was determined to keep working. I had failed so many times and caused myself and people I loved so much pain thereby that I felt if I crapped out this time, I would have to hang myself. I didn't know what resistance was then. No one had schooled me in the concept. I felt it, though, big time. I experienced it as a compulsion to self-destruct. I could not finish what I started. The closer I got, the more different ways I'd find to screw it up. I worked for 26 months straight, taking only 2 out for a stint of migrant labor in Washington State. And finally, one day I got to the last page and typed out, "The end." I never did find a buyer for that book, or the next one either. It was 10 years before I got the first check for something I had written, and 10 more before a novel, The Legend of Bagger Vance, was actually published. But the moment when I first hit the keys to spell out "the end" was epical. I remember rolling the last page out and adding it to the stack that was the finished manuscript. Nobody knew it. Nobody knew I was done. Nobody cared, but I knew. I felt like a dragon I had been fighting my entire life had just dropped dead at my feet and gasped out its last sulfuric breath. Rest in peace, motherfucker. The next morning I went over to Paul's for coffee and told him I had finished. Good for you, he said without looking up. Start the next one today. There we go. Phaser Wrist says, check out my Anonymous Christie plot formula for murder stories. It's free on writing. It's free on writing as well, actually, and on my website. Okay. My first attempted will do for all of those writing mysteries out there. My first attempted screenplay was a noir detective mystery. It was an abject failure. It isn't easy. I applaud everyone attempting it, and I want you all to succeed. You got melted ice from last night for your drink? Okay, so that is our reading today. We're going to be going over to Adron's On Writing Well and see what it's like. But I want to do one other thing for like 20 seconds. Let me bring this up and do this for 20 seconds. This is also something we should be doing in the morning, just to make sure we have this covered as men, just to make sure that we as men have this covered, and any women here too, of course. But we want to have this covered. So, top facts about ancient Rome. Just one fact here. Rome was the first city in the world to record a population of 1 million. The first census was in the 2nd century BC. A mass of 1 million people came from 3 different continents, Europe, Asia, and Africa. The next city in Europe to have a population of this size was Victorian London in the 19th century. That, according to Russ's top facts about Rome. So now, not only have we done our reading in The War of Art, but we've also thought about the Roman Empire this morning. So that's a great way to start the morning. No, that's what my plan was. I might have to get Steven Pressfield's Turning Pro next. I'm thinking about doing Turning Pro right after we get finished with this book. I think that we do Turning Pro next. Phaser Risk says, I can't get this. This is a good sign. No, it's not. Bad sign. Bad sign out of my head. LOL. That's one of my favorite jokes, too. You know, when he ran up and he hit the yield sign, he actually hurt himself. You hear him go, ow, God. Very convincing, because he actually ran up and hurt himself. So, yes, we have now thought about Rome. Oh, and you brought up the Vulgate. Yes, I brought up the Vulgate in the Discord this morning. The Vulgate's in Latin. That's another Rome. Yes, so, but in case you were not on the Discord, and you should be, there was our thought of Rome for the day. All right, let me come over here to pick up. Take that down. So on writing. So now we are heading over to on writing and seeing what it is all about. On writing well. On writing well. I don't want an annotation. I want the very beginning. Oh, okay. I am at the very beginning. Okay. All right. So today on deck, on writing well. This has been quite a series to get us ready for NaNoWriMo and then here on day one of NaNoWriMo. On writing well, everything you need on plot, character, and dramatic story structure by Adron J. Smitley. This is 2001. Everything almost in this book is available for free at adronjsmitley.blogspot.com. Okay, so there's we talked about the website. So there it is, right there, the Blogspot. This volume of work is a collection of writing advice pertaining to everything plot, character, and dramatic story structure architecture from said blog. So it may contain or have omitted certain aspects, such as internet links or book plugs and the like, throughout the various pieces edited therein. I've also rearranged them into specific subjects despite their posting dates for more fluid reading of teaching, and though I've tried to maintain each piece as originally written, I've also added some extra bits as I saw fit, not within the original articles. Enjoy, and never stop learning. Hey, that's what we do around here. Also, a big thank you to my 12-year-old niece and talented artist Lacey Smitley, who painted on Writing Well's beautiful cover. Okay, on structure, the master plot formula, or how to plot the perfect story. Oh, thank you. There's the Discord server. Talking about Men in Empire, has anyone seen the Pandaverse movie? Or the Panda? I have not yet. I've seen people talking about it a lot, by the way. I have wondered. I don't watch South Park, so I don't really know anything about South Park, but I've wondered if that should be something that we talk about on Table Talk. I know a lot of people are talking about it right now. And of course we got Halloween and stuff like that, but I'm kind of curious if I can find a way to watch it. I might watch it and see if it's worthy of a discussion on our side of things. I love the plotter pantser author story types. That's a gem. Okay, how to to the master plot formula, or how to plot the perfect story. I believe that every person has at least one good novel in them begging for release if only they had the time and patience and the proper amount of creative know-how. I've spent well over a decade and countless hours dissecting hundreds of novels and movies because of my obsessive fascination with all things plot. And I've taken information from many sources while adding original pieces of my own in creation for this writer's cheat sheet I call the Master Plot Formula, which will guide you to writing your best possible story. Act 1. The Old World Stasis, the protagonist's ordinary world of work, home, and social life, where stasis equals death. 2. Inciting Incident, the protagonist's first introduction to the central story conflict through a major problem or big opportunity influencing their world as in as permanent a way as possible caused by the antagonist. 3. New world flux. The protagonist strives for balance in their newly disrupted world as they debate what can and should be done about the major problem or big opportunity of the inciting incident. Physical crossing. The protagonist finally decides how to act and usually physically leaves their old world on restrictions behind for their new world of possibilities ahead. By the way, when I was talking to Brianna yesterday, Tuesdays, we always meet to talk about stories. We had an hour and a half meeting about, well, it's more than just story. It's our creative endeavor side and things like that. We do our work Wednesday afternoons, but I was trying to articulate to her, I was articulating to her the new kind of structure that I was having for the Rabavania story and the way that it was going. And I was talking to her. I did recommend that she read Stomping Kittens. And she said that she would do that next on her list. She's working through books too, but she wants to. But every time she was having the exact same kinds of revelations that I was. Like, okay, so now here, this is how it needs to be. I need to have this person here, this character. Then they've got to do this, the crossing of the Rubicon. She was also having revelation. She was like, oh, yeah, that is very well. And even like, well, I kind of heard that before, but this is said so much better. So she was also, I believe, interested in what's going on. And as I was plotting this physical crossing, and I love the idea here where we have the physical crossing, and then also the emotional crossing, where you've got half commitment, and then you end up with full commitment and absolute commitment, and building the story around the crossing of the Rubicon, which is the crossing from Act 2 into Act 3, makes all the difference. Oh, it's a good thing South Park can hide behind the parody clause. I hear that Pandaverse is yet another episode that someone wants to sue them over. Well, we'll see. Oh, yes. Thank you, BGD. Please do like the stream. Please do hit like. That helps spread the word about what we're doing to other people who might want to be here. And YouTube is not showing them in the algorithm. We picked up some people who hadn't been around in a while on last night's Cultist live stream and kind of brought them into the fold. I saw it was fantastic because we also saw some names on the Cultist live stream last night that haven't been around in a while, but was like, oh, I know some stuff was going on. So please do hit the like button. Hey, Jason. Yeah. So yeah, I watched some YouTubers commenting on it, but I kind of want to know for myself, I would want to watch it for myself if we were to talk about it, obviously. So, good morning, Andrew. Act 2, things come together. Act 2A, things come together. The fish out of water protagonist makes new friends and enemies while shedding old flaws for new virtues as they progress toward resolving the central story conflict. 6, pinch point betrayer setup. The antagonist flexes their muscles in a minor way against the protagonist, someone who is jealous of or dislikes the protagonist's schemes, their future ruin behind the scenes. I was also getting the betrayer right. False victory. The protagonist and allies achieve their biggest success yet toward resolving the central story conflict while earning the full attention of the antagonist and their minions. 8, midpoint twist. A stunning revelation and reversal of fortune causes the momentum shift of the protagonist from reaction to proaction against the antagonist. I've got that too. Now, things fall apart in Act 2B. The protagonist team suffers internal dissension as external enemies close in. Punch point, betrayal payoff. The antagonist flexes their muscles in a way against the protagonist. The protagonist is stabbed in the back at the worst moment. 11, false defeat. Someone dies and or something precious is taken from the protagonist during the antagonist's false victory, where all seems lost. In this, the protagonist's lowest point thus far. Spiritual crossing. The depressed protagonist is struck with the inspirational epiphany to continue one last assault against the antagonist. And so that is our spiritual crossing, the crossing of the Rubicon, which we are supposed to be building the story around according to this philosophy of storytelling. And we talked about theme yesterday when we went over the book, Steal This Story. And if you are setting the story up as a battle between two ideas, one versus the other, like faith versus doubt, then all of your and you want this to be a happy ending and you want the person to pick faith, then it needs to be that at that moment, which is going to lead them into Act 3 and allow them to overcome the physical obstacles. But then you basically build the story around getting to the Rubicon, which I think is fantastic. It's actually, to me, it's a better way of thinking than, oh, well, you start with the what's traditionally the climax with the physical resolution in Act 3 and work backwards, but putting a lot of emphasis on that right there, the crossing of the Rubicon from Act 2 into Act 3, I really, really love. I heard, plotter, pantser, but then also first time I've seen someone include author as the synthesis of the two. I think that's the first time I've heard that too. Act 3, false solution. All remaining subplots outside the protagonist are resolved as the surviving allies of the protagonist and minions of the antagonist are eliminated. 14, that's interesting that the remaining subplots are resolved here, leaving you to just deal with the protagonist and the antagonist here at the very end. Separation. The protagonist is separated from all remaining allies so they can face the antagonist one-on-one as only the protagonist can. 15, true resolution. The protagonist defeats the antagonist or dies trying. 16, aftermath. The immediate effects of the protagonist's victory or death. The kickers. All protagonists must achieve their character growth throughout and because of the adversity of their story. As the writer, it's your job to kick them toward that character growth, and here's how. Act 1, kicker. Somewhere during Act 1, your protagonist demonstrates their emotional shield earned from a past traumatic event they carry around to protect them from future harm. Show, don't tell the protagonist hiding behind the false safety of their emotional shield they have no intention of discarding. I was working with this morning. Yesterday morning, before I talked to Brianna, the emotional shield, and going through the wound, sword, shield has definitely made my main character much more interesting. I was having a problem. I was like, what's his flaw going to be? What's his flaw? That I knew that he needed one before I was like, when I sit down and work on this plot some more, I got to figure out what flaw he's going to be dealing with. So I knew that was on the list of things to do. But then when I thought of it in terms of wound, sword, shield, flaw, scar, flaw, virtue, which is wound, sword, shield, which is talked about in Stomping Kittens. Go back and check out the live stream where we did that, and then go get the book. It connects that flaw directly to the backstory wound. I was like, oh, well, what happened to him? Oh, well, I do know what happened to him in the past. What's this significant event that's the backstory, which is all you need for the backstory? Really, what's the main significant event that's happened before the story started in the character's life that has injured them physically, emotionally, or both? That's got this flaw, got this scar, and then what flaw follows directly from that the character would use as a shield to keep them from ever being hurt in that same way again. And then it was obvious. Then it was obvious what the character is, what the character's flaw is. And then exactly what an opposite of that is. And then that got me to the Rubicon. So it's perfect. It works so well. It works so well for me. So this has been huge. Act 2, kicker. Let's see here. Act 2A, kicker. Somewhere during the first half of Act 2, either the protagonist or someone close to the protagonist notices the hindrance of their emotional shield, weighing them down, and expresses it as much through the dialogue, forcing their protagonist to question the true value of their emotional shield and the scary possibility of living without it. This actually inverted something that I thought was a major part of the story. I want the character to be squired to a great knight by the end of the story. And a lot of the previous drafts and previous versions of what has happened here was that for some reason the knight won't take the guy as a squire. But actually, it needs to be the reverse. I realized that once you start working with the wound, sword, and shield, this needs to be the reverse situation, because even though he might want to be taken as a squire, the knight might want to take him as a squire, he doesn't like commitment. The main character, the protagonist, does. So that's one of the things that he does in order to keep himself from being hurt again because of his wound of loss. I got wound of loss. So it's like wound of loss. So he doesn't want to get attached to anything. Well, so if you want to be a knight, you're going to have some attachment, because you're going to have this relationship with this knight. And so it was good that, like I said, we're like, oh, I reversed it. So wait a minute. I had always had the guy want to be a squire. He needs to become a squire because he needs to take on this responsibility, but he's hesitant to commit to the knight. So once he overcomes this flaw of his, where he doesn't attach to anything, then he's willing to become a squire and go on to training to become a knight. Works so great. Oh, the screen is struck. Phaser Risk says, my NaNoWriMo horror novel cheat sheet is based on that. Pick any phobia and its reason for existence as the wound. Then you automatically have a flaw and virtue of fear of courage. Let me, I see that the stream says that it's unstable. I told it to not sync Death Star plans or anything like that at the moment. Let me see if there's anything here that I can turn off. Let me know if it comes back. Let me refresh on my side. Just 1 second. Refreshing. Maybe now. Let's see. Get this back up. Oh, it might be better now. Okay, so sharing. Saber Phoenix says, I might have bitten off more than I can chew for my first novel, since it's urban fantasy and it's part action, part mystery, and part horror. It's also unfolding as a definite series in my head, so many urban fantasies are, so I'm outlining the arc of novels as well as the initial novel. So your wound equals loss and shield. Your wound equals loss. Oh, so your wound equals loss, and shield equals emotional distancing, and sword equals emotional commitment. Yeah, something like those. Yeah, something like that line. Yes, something along that line. He needs faith in himself and needs faith in other people again. I think that Sable's also working with loss. He wants adventure, but he could go on adventures in very unstructured ways, just being kind of a carefree, adventurer. But he needs to learn structure and discipline, and hence become a knight. But one of the things that's holding him back from becoming a knight is that he doesn't like commitment in order to keep himself from being hurt again. Midpoint twist kicker. Sometime during the midpoint twist, the protagonist battles against maintaining hold of their emotional shield, growing heavier as the central story conflict progresses. Here, they briefly set the shield aside, and for it, we catch a glimpse of who they will become without it in a daring display of potential. Through this moment is fleeting because we have not yet achieved their full character growth, so they pick their emotional shield back up and hide behind it again out of habitual practice. Act 2B kicker. Somewhere during the second half of Act 2, the protagonist overcomes the heavy burden of their emotional shield, finally lays it down as the false protection they realize it is, and steps away from it as a changed character. Act 3 kicker. But change is a scary process, so somewhere during Act 3, the protagonist briefly regresses and picks up their emotional shield. But now it proves too heavy a burden and doesn't offer them the protection as the changed protagonist they become, so they throw it aside forever and achieve full character growth. There are 3 kinds of stories. The first one is with a well-developed plot, but no character growth arc. If you master the first half of the master plot formula without the kickers, then this is what you'll write. A pointless story with lots of meaningless action happening to a static protagonist who never changes. Plotters fall into this category. The second one is with well-developed character growth arc but no plot. If you master the second half of the master plot formula without the logical stages of adversity, plot, then this is what you'll write. A boring story with a changing protagonist who meanders through a random collection of trivial events that have no logical connection, but that they are happening to the same person. Pantsers fall into this category. The third is the diamond in the coal, that perfect combination of pressure and change, which creates the meaningful story of an exciting protagonist who endures through adversity and by changing triumphs into a satisfying conclusion to their strife. Authors fall into this category. So here we have here's the plotters, pantsers, authors. Plotters, pantsers, and then authors. Romancing the bone, or the classic love story subplot formula. Everyone yearns to love and be loved, such as human nature replete in all of us and thereafter. Everyone yearns to love and to be loved, such as human nature replete in all of us and therefore so important to story and instigating reader interest, relatable upon the wildest emotional scale. And I also realized there needed to be a romance subplot in the story too. It's only right. The love story is so often the subplot of novels that most experienced readers expect it for the tasty side dish accompanying the delicious novel meal. But what is the real love? What is the love story and how do you implement it? In simplest terms, and insert your own preferred gender pronouns throughout this entire example, we use the good old standby. The love story in its most basic form equates to the following subplot formula. Act 1, boy meets girl. Act 2A, boy gets girl. Midpoint, boy and girl have sex or first kiss for the kiddies. Act 2B, boy loses girl. Act 3, boy gets girl back. Now let's reflect upon the classic, essential, minimum, basic 7 plot points all great stories possess for ease of reference. Inciting incident, plot point turn 1, pinch point, midpoint, punch point, plot turn 2, resolution. Next, we add that tasty opening hook all readers enjoy to yank them into your story begging for more. As well, we apply them to their appropriate acts. Act 1, hook, inciting incident, plot turn 1. Act 2A, pinch point, midpoint. Act 2B, punch point, plot turn 2. Act 3, resolution. Then we apply a little more detail to flesh out the specific love story subplot while expanding upon the basic 7 into the lovely 9. Basic 7, lovely 9. Okay, so Act 1, we have the hook, inciting incident, plot turn 1. Act 2A, the pinch point. Act 2, the breaker and the midpoint. Act 2B, punch point, plot turn 2. Act 3, climax and resolution. Note, we've appointed the midpoint as its own category because of how important it is to the developing relationship of the love story, as well as its impact on the characters involved. We've also added climax before the resolution, separating it also because of its importance. So how to extrapolate upon the love story to fit your novel as its intriguing subplot? Like so. Act 1, hook, introduce the protagonist incomplete without love. 2, inciting incident, introduce love interest to the protagonist while establishing clear conflict between them. 3, plot turn 1, protagonist and love interest are forced to work together toward a common goal. Act 2A, pinch point, hidden mutual attraction evolves into obvious sexual tension as they discover things in common while working together. Midpoint, 5, breaker, they surrender to their surmounting sexual tensions and have sex, irrevocably binding them while raising the stakes not only of their relationship, but also its influence upon the main story goal for foreboding the shift of priorities. Let's see. Phaser says, as a subplot, boy meets girl can also happen at the beginning of Act 2A, though if it's your main plot, then boy meets girl, meet cute, must be your inciting incident. That makes sense. So if it's a subplot of the story, then that can happen in 2A. But if you're actually just trying to write a whole romance here as part of your main plot, it needs to be your inciting incident. I mean, that also tells you, you got to have one of those, right? So this is telling you exactly what it should be. Act 2B. 6, punch point. But their relationship jeopardizes achieving the main goal of the story, so the protagonist breaks it off. Oh, that's interesting. Their relationship jeopardizes achieving the main story goal. So this is if it's the subplot, right? So the protagonist breaks it off. Plot turn 2, until the despairing protagonist realizes he can't live without her, and their relationship takes precedence over achieving the main story goal. 8, climax. So he risks it all to win back the love interest in a daring display and declaration of their flourishing love, with the love interest, which the love interest reciprocates, often at the cost of some personal sacrifice to the protagonist, such as proof of his undying love. 9, resolution. Until they're together again, and their repaired relationship is stronger after enduring the adversity of their tested love. Phaser Risk says the love interest can also break it off. This is just actually, I was just thinking about that. I was just thinking about the love interest can also break it off. This is just one version of it is all. Yeah, I was actually thinking about that. I was thinking, no, actually, the way that I have this set up, that I was thinking about this yesterday, it would be the love interest who breaks it off. Sable says, I think one of the reasons that You've Got Mail is one of my favorite romantic comedies is because it consciously messes up this formula up. The conflict between the two is resolved early, and the connection between the two physically is pushed out to the very end because the romance is taking place anonymously. Micah says, morning, all got up out with my father after getting home and missed the start of this. Well, we're glad you're here now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's been another great episode here. Phaser Rift says, Megamind is the perfect example when she touches his watch as they kiss and his digital disguise vanishes. I have not seen this movie. So it's another one's got to go on the list. So we just did that. Act 3 climax. Also note, this is not the only love interest subplot formula, obviously, and because humans are complicated creatures of complex emotions, just the most simple and common. Often such with plenty of superhero movies, the punch point is instead the protagonist realizing the love's interest life is in increasing danger if they remain together, so he breaks their relationship off for the sake of sparing the love interest life. But the antagonist proves crafty and figures out this protagonist's weakness of heart and then kidnaps the love interest with the intent of luring the protagonist in for a final battle, using the love interest as bait, such as the classic repeating tale of older comic books. So the plot turn 2 of this version then becomes the protagonist learning of the love interest's kidnapping. The climax becomes the rescue alongside the antagonist's defeat. The resolution is obvious, protagonist and love interest together again, and stronger for all. That also brings that together, that you've got the defeat of the antagonist, and you're resolving that storyline basically at the same time too. I'll use the bare bones of my master plot formula as an example of this typical superhero love story subplot. Old world stasis, introduce incomplete without love protagonist. New world flux, complete opposites. Protagonist and love interest are forced to work together. Act 2A, things come together. Their mutual attraction flourishes into sexual tension while they discover things in common. 4, false victory. They surrender to sex. Act 2B, things fall apart. Fearing for love interest's endangered life, protagonist ends their relationship. 6, false defeat. Antagonist kidnaps love interest, baiting the trap to kill the protagonist. Act 3, false solution. Protagonist risks all by rescuing love interest. 8, true resolution. Protagonist validates his love by proving the importance of their relationship at the cost of some personal sacrifice to himself, and the love interest reciprocates their affection. Also note, but they don't have to hate each other right off the bat either. The protagonist can pine after the love interest from afar until one day they get the opportunity to work alongside them. Then later, their relationship interferes with the main story goal, so the love interest breaks their relationship off, but ends up floundering without the protagonist, while the despairing protagonist only wants her back. So that's closer here. The protagonist can pine after the love interest from afar. That's closer to what I was kind of setting up. without the protagonist. At the end, they're reuniting after some risk all and declaration of love and blah, blah, blah. You get the sappy point. I'm having trouble seeing here. My contacts are sliding around. Let's see. Man, those flash meetings are morning grind killers. I can finally focus on what's important in the Geekverse. Micah says, I've been doing NaNoWriMo since 2018. Really helped with the first draft of my first 3 books in my series. Phaser Rift says, yeah, this is really interesting. I was reading this yesterday. The Matrix combines the mentor sacrifice the protagonist and love interest kidnaps trope, making it the first half of Act 3 all about rescuing Morpheus. There exists 1,000,001 ways to tweak the classic love story subplot formula. You're a writer, be creative. And we're not finished yet, so suck in that paltry lower lip, because that pouty lower lip. I told you I was having trouble seeing at the moment. That pouty lower lip, because there are 2 more ways aplenty to employ the love story, be it a subplot or as a main focus. Billy Murnett, considering the leading expert on romantic comedies, aka the guru of rom-coms, MFA, screenwriter and novelist, WGA member and story analyst for Universal Pictures, defines his 7 essential basic romantic comedy beats in his book, Writing the Romantic Comedy, as follows. 1. The chemical equation. Setup. A scene or sequence identifying the exterior and/or interior conflict, i.e. unfulfilled desire. What's wrong with this picture implied in the protagonist and/or the antagonist's current status quo? So identifying the exterior and/or interior conflicts, unfulfilled desire, implied in the status quo. Cute meat, the catalyst, the inciting incident that brings man and woman, or man and man, or woman and woman together into the conflict. An inventive but credible contrivance, often amusing, which in some ways sets the tone for the action to come. A sexy complication, turning point. 3. Traditionally occurring at the end of Act 1, a new development that raises story stakes and clearly defines the protagonist's goal. Most successful when it sets man and woman at cross purposes and/or their inner emotions at odds with this goal. 4. The hook, midpoint. A situation that irrevocably binds the protagonist with the antagonist, often while tweaking sexual tension, and has further implication for the outcome of their relationship. 5. Swivel, second turning point. Traditionally occurring at the end of Act 2, stakes reach their highest point as the romantic relationship's importance jeopardizes the protagonist's chance to succeed at his or her stated goal, or vice versa, his or her goal shifts. 6. The dark moment, the crisis climax, wherein the consequence of the swivel decision yields disaster, generally the humiliating scene where private motivations are revealed and either the relationship and/or the protagonist's goal is seemingly lost forever. 7. Joyful defeat resolution. A reconciliation that reaffirms the primal importance of the relationship, usually a happy ending that implies marriage or a serious commitment, often at the cost of some personal sacrifice to the protagonist. Let's see. Here, the unfulfilled desire means the characters living a loveless life, with true love being what they really need to fulfill them. When Harry Met Sally pioneered the simple yet effective format in 1989, and it worked so well that it became its own genre. One could argue that no rom-com since has proven able to top the iconic hilarity of Meg Ryan's fake orgasm, capped perfectly with "I'll have what she's having." This rom-com template has remained essentially the same since 1989 because it's the proven tried and true recipe for a successful rom-com as follows. 1. Start with 2 people who could potentially be attracted to each other. Put them in a scenario where they are likely to hate each other at first. Provide them ample time to slowly grow on each other through burgeoning conflict as well as shared interests. 4. Sprinkle in some quirky best friends, co-workers, and family members who either push them closer or pull them further apart. 5. Include sharp writing and commentary on modern dating and relationships. 6, add a wedge in their blossoming romance that forces them to rethink their interest in the other person. 7, finally bring the big romantic gesture that ensures they will live happily ever after, at least until the end credits roll and the last page turns. And there you have it, multiple worthy versions of the classic love story subplot formula ready for you to apply to your creative writing genius, and then inject them into your story either as the subplot or the main plot itself. You know what just entered my head here? Oh, the line, "I'll have what she's having," was delivered by the director's mother. What just struck me here, when we're talking about role-playing games, we're talking about world building and worlds. We've talked about the worlds and how to experience the worlds, and we've also talked about the rule systems themselves. And sometimes there's this crossover between these things. And sometimes do you build a rule system specifically for a world, or do you just want to develop your world and so adapt a pre-written rule system? This is kind of analogous to having these story structures right here that Adron is giving us. So I've got my world. I want it to be experienced as a story. Do I need to come up with my own story structure? No. And in fact, that's what this has been about our endeavors all the time. Find out what the story structure is, and then apply all of your unique dressings and all of your uniqueness and all of your neat world and stuff like that to an existing plot structure. Because you know, just like you know the rule set of 5th edition works, well, we'll just say that for the point of this argument. Just like you know this rule set's already been play tested, people like it, people know it, people are, will play games with that system. Now here's my unique element applied to that. Here is the plot structure, like the romantic comedy plot structure or the hero story, whatever that people know, they love. It's tried and true. Now I'm going to apply all of my unique elements on it. Maybe it's not a perfect analogy, but that's just what I thought of as here we were looking at. Let's see. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. So it may not be worth trying to reinvent the wheel for your own plot structure. It may not be worth trying to reinvent the wheel for your novel, for your rule system or your novel. James likes that. So James says, I think that's a great analogy. The 8-point story arc, or how to construct engaging scenes. Stray says, good world building is like a nice bottle of rum. It's a lot to take in when you get to the bottom of it. The 8-point story. So I've got tons of stuff to do today. So this is 3. Well, okay, let's just get started here. But then you're going to, if this is useful to you, what you should do is you go over and pick up this book yourself. This is On Writing Well. But we'll go for just a few more minutes because I'm doing this also for me because I want to go through these books because they've been so useful. So 3, the 8-point story arc. Or how to construct engaging scenes. Nigel Watts wrote a little book called Writing a Novel as part of the Teach Yourself series of books that cover a wide variety of subjects. I was pursuing the interwebs years ago and happened across a comment from other writers recommending Nigel's book. So I hopped on to Amazon and bought myself a copy. Unfortunately for me, at the time the book was rare and pricey, and I had to buy a used copy for $20. Though now one can purchase a cheaper copy, be it paperback or digital. Oh well, it was $20 well spent regardless. In this book, Nigel explains the 8-point story arc, an incredibly useful tool for writers that has proven its worth many times over since I began implementing it into my own writing ventures. Nigel's 8-point story arc is freely available all over the internet these days, if one does a simple Google search, but I recommend you buy his book anyway because he spent the time writing it, and writing a novel contains much more valuable, though some a bit outdated given our current digital age, information than just his 8-point story arc. So what's the 8-point story arc? Zippity-doo-dah. 1, stasis. 2, trigger. 3, quest. 4, surprise. 5, critical choice. 6, climax. 7, reversal. 8, resolution. Or once upon a time, stasis. Something out of the ordinary happens. Trigger. Causing the protagonist to seek something. Quest. But things don't go as expected. Surprise. forcing the protagonist to make some difficult decisions, critical choice, which have consequences, climax, the result of which is a change in status, reversal, and all lived happily ever after or didn't, the resolution. Thus his story, or so says Nigel Watts, and I concur. But I also say that 8-point story arc not only applies to your overall story, but also to each and every scene within it. And my suggestion is this: use Nigel's 8-point story arc and describe your entire novel's story in one sentence each pertaining to the 8-point plots of his story arc. This is a great way to grasp a secure feel of your whole story before spending countless hours and months of daily writing, while figuring out any also figuring out any pesky plot holes that may pop up. Now you have a loose plot of your overall story figured out in a logical, though surprising way for your reader. You can next break down into further detail the scenes your story contains by way of applying the same yet different 8-point scene arc. Think of them as mini arcs within the maximum story, bridges leading from one scene to the next. If you wish, apply them to each of your chapters, though you will have to change the resolution of your scenes so that each scene events connects into the next in a continuous flow until your story reaches its true resolution. But that's a minor detail easily figured out with a little tweaking. So the protagonist continues forth executing their new plan of attack, New Stasis, until something out of the ordinary happens, trigger, causing the protagonist to seek something, side quest, but things don't go as expected, again, surprise, forcing the protagonist to make another difficult decision, critical choice, which has consequences, climax, and the result of which is a change in status, a reversal, helping them decide on a new plan of attack, continuation, repeat as needed. For example, let's say you have a 20-chapter novel plan for writing. Okay, now let's apply Nigel's 8-point story arc as follows: 1 stasis, 2 blank, 3 trigger, 4 blank, 5 blank, 6 quest, then 7, 8, and 9, 10 surprise, 11 critical choice, 12 and 13 climax at 14, 15, 16 is reversal, 17, 18, 19, and then resolution on 20. Now one needs to fill in the gaps with the 8-point scene arc, connecting each of the 8-story arc points with a logical set yet surprising sense of flow, and voila, the rest writes itself. That's what still leaves a lot of white space begging for filling. But that leaves a lot of white space begging for filling, truth be told. And if you're familiar with my dedicated writing guide for both plotters and pantsers, that's Pen the Sword, the universal plot skeleton of every story ever told, then you might plug these into pesky plot gaps even further like this. So 1, opening hook. 2, stasis, save the cat and kick the dog, which we have been talking about in this series. 3, trigger, inciting incident. 4, try-fail cycles. 5, physical crossing. 6, quest, fish out of water. 7, allies and enemies and training. 8, betrayal setup. 9, big success. 10 is our surprise midpoint twist. 11, critical choice rededication. 12, betrayal influence. 13, try-fail cycles. 14, climax, betrayal pays off and all is lost. This is the emotional right here, the emotional climax, all is lost. 15, then spiritual crossing then becomes the emotional climax. 16, reversal, rally the troops. 17, storm the castle. 18, all is lost again. 19, all is won. 20, resolution. Phew, isn't that much better without all the white space screaming for words? Of course it is. Though the above examples are only that, examples, you can devise your own novel plot chart according to your particular story, changing and rearranging as needed. Because your novel doesn't fit the formula fits the novel. Apply as needed. I am still loving all of this. Let's see. Let me see what's going on. Yes, thank you, Stray. Remember to check out the Ravenkeep online store. There are mugs that match the coffee. There's even a digital copy of Goodnight Sword there. There is. Thank you. I'm having trouble reading. So let's see. Oh, did we lose something here? And the Discord server, please do come in and join the Discord server. This book series is like Lego for writers. It completely is. This has exactly the kind of stuff I've been looking for in other books on writing for years. Sable, Micah says, honestly, it really is. This elements of style and the sin of syntax are some of the best for knowing how to write properly. This, elements of style and sin and syntax are some of the best for knowing how to write properly. It's always been there, just not like this. Truly, this is the best presentation of all of this information. Okay. I got tons of stuff to do. I got to wrap up the Indiegogo for Goodnight Sword. I have got to do my NaNoWriMo writing. I got to work with Brianna this afternoon on our YouTube channels. And I got to write my NaNoWriMo, and then I got to get everything ready for the trial of St. Gabriel that's coming up. So much stuff. So, all right, everybody, if you haven't written yet, write. We'll check in tomorrow. We'll see how many words we've gotten. Congratulations to all of those who've already gotten their words. Go forth, be creative, be constructive. Let's get stuff done. I will see you tomorrow morning. Later.